What's up, beautiful people? It's a Sunday here to talk about some things that are on my mind. Today, I'd like to talk about the Patriot Act and what it's going to mean for the One People's Trust. If you don't know what the One People's Trust is, it means the Vatican, Skull and Bones, all of these Nazi Freemason organizations, Blue Lodge of the UK, all of their businesses, all of their corporations, Monsanto's, CFR, all of their international slave companies have been foreclosed. And for the people not following current events, they're still hooked up to the Matrix and they can still play along, but it's only a matter of time before the world finds out. Now, the thing that distresses me the most, because I'm actually a victim of it, is the people that are going to come forward, and when government records, government files are brought forth, and once the world is able to see what has happened to these people that the Patriot Act was used upon, they're going to be horrified. Now, if you don't know what the Patriot Act is, I'm not surprised. Most Americans didn't read it 10, 11, 12 years ago when it was implemented. So, most don't even know how far they can go. But I read it. I knew what it was when it first came out. I knew what this meant for me and people I socialized with, my family, because we were environmentalists. We were activists, and we already had problems with the government and being watched by the government because of things we did in California, because we knew the truth about Bush going into the National Alaskas, which these were war crimes. This was illegal due to Clinton passing the biggest environmental bill to protect them, but Clinton was with them anyway. It was just a big ruse, just a big game to them to show the people of the world, who's got the power. Well, let me explain to you some things about the Patriot Act. And I want you to understand that it is the most horrific violation of laws ever passed against humanity. It is Nazism, and it is specifically war crimes right in front of your face. Now, the first thing I'd like to bring your attention to about the Patriot Act, which this brought the downfall of the pedophile faggot Pope, the Bushes. Now, the Bushes were the lead people in 9/11. They were the button pushers in the big game, but they admittedly, in a disclosed confession, admitted that the Pope was behind 9/11. Okay, well, I think it's true, and I also think it's bullshit, because one man cannot be the brains behind 9/11, especially seeming that in 1986 they had 9/11 Illuminati game cards. Their Nostradamus, who was alive a very long time ago, who they worship, also talked about 9/11. The towers of York will burn. This is how Nostradamus stated it. And this was before the Pope was even alive. So, the Bushes are blatant liars. But for the most uneducated public, they're pointing the finger at the head of the snake, hoping that they can get off. They've always known, their parents have known, their parents before them have known. They're Satanists. Now, these are all facts. And once an educated person that has a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of common sense puts this together, there's not going to be a jail cell that can keep them away from the truth and what the general public is going to want to do to them, because I'm just being honest. Now, 9/11 was done by the Bushes, because I can actually tell you right now that Arbusto Energies still, as of last year, had Osama bin Laden's wife's father on their payroll. He's a Saudi Arabia, and the first Aryans, Arabic, those oil motherfuckers, they're all in on it. So it's all bullshit. Osama bin Laden's FBI cover name was Tim Osman. He was in a hospital under the name of Tim Osman, a week after 9/11. So they're looking for this terrorist, and he's in America in a hospital. So then you get into CIA, Al-Qaeda, which that was bullshit. Al-Qaeda was actually created by the CIA. They said they were creating and training these guys to go in and destabilize Saddam Hussein, and lost control of them. And then they did 9/11. Okay, bullshit. So this is all blamed on the Pope, right? What about all the people that carried out these orders? They're just as guilty as him. So 9/11, just by these statements I made, you can see that it was complete bullshit, and it was a blatant attack, murder on innocent Americans. So the Bushes, the Pope, the Illuminati can push us into a World War III, so they can kill millions and billions of innocent women and children, and snatch women and children like off the street and do whatever the fuck they want to take them for experimentations in their satanic rituals. Who's going to say anything? Who's going to do anything? So then when you get into the truth about what has been going on for the last 12 years blatantly and pretty much publicly, and when they have their news media that they own and control to lie about everything and to brainwash the public and to do these things, like the Pope passed all these new laws the day Michael Jackson was being buried. So did anybody know that? While the whole world was tuned on, Michael Jackson being buried, the Pope is passing all these new laws, these new Nazi laws, same day. This is what they do. TV, big event, laws in secret. Like Obama, New Year's, passed the Martial Law Act right under everybody's nose. In case something happens, he becomes a dictator. He did this on New Year's, while everybody's out partying and celebrating. He's got a few members in the Senate to pass his laws. This is what they do. They're evil as shit. So then when you get into Patriot Act, this Patriot Act was passed due to events that happened because of 9/11, because of terrorists. These people are the real terrorists. They have been and they always will be. I mean, what could be more terrifying than a man that billions and billions of people look up to and say, you have to go to me to get to God, and you have to bow down to me to get to God, and you have to speak to me to get to God. This man is raping kids and performing sacrificial rituals on kids. What is more terroristic and diabolical and more sadistic than this? Well, actually, there is something that is. The Patriot Act. Now, let me tell you, the Patriot Act, what they can do: go in your house, take whoever they want, replace whoever they want, do anything that they want in your home, and not say a thing and not tell anyone. This is the Patriot Act. They can put bugs in your computer, tap all your phones, do whatever they want. They threw out the Constitution when they wrote the Patriot Act. Now, legally, it's passed as the terrorist attacks on September 11th significantly reduced restriction and law enforcement agencies' gathering of intelligence within the United States, expanded the security of the Treasury and authority regulate financial translations. Now, what that actually means is they gave the Federal Reserve, which is owned by the Rothschilds, more power. That is the legal bank that belongs to the United States corporation that is controlled by the European monarch and the Blue Lodge of the UK that does not have anything to do with the United States. Now, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978, they threw that out. They revised it. They can basically do whatever they want. I mean, there are things that people don't realize that they can do. Now, they can go in and, take members of your family, and if other members of your family even mention it or try to find out what happened to, say, their brother, sister, mother, father, they can take you. And they can do it legally and without you having a lawyer. You'll just disappear and end up in Guantanamo Bay or end up in one of their underground bases for experimentation and so-called interrogation if they label you as a terrorist. Now, these people are terrorists, lying about terrorists. Now, basically what I'm trying to help you understand is they did this so they can go in and kill, maim, watch, do whatever they want to the people that stood against them. To the scientists, to the activists, to the environmentalists, to the people's families that stood against them. They can go in, replace a family member of yours, put one of their government agents in your house, take all your stuff, control your family, and if you say anything, they'll lock you up. This is the Patriot Act. It is 1,000 times worse than any Nazi act that Hitler passed, because at least Hitler would go in, I'm looking for Jews. If you were a Jew, you knew to hide, okay? And to hide your stuff. And people would hide you. But the Patriot Act, they're looking for whoever and whatever they say is this. And what they claim to be a terrorist is them, but they put this on you and me. So you can be an environmentalist, you can be an activist, you can be a scientist with breakthrough technology, or you can have something that they just want or doing something that they don't like. And all they have to do is legally say you're a terrorist, and under the Patriot Act, they can do anything to you in secrecy. Full disclosure and the highest protection of the U.S. Federal Reserve United States corporation government. Now, see, most Americans don't even know this, and they don't even want to wake up to the horrific fact of Patriot Act 2. Patriot Act 2 blatantly says they can go in, execute you, and not say anything about it. Well, at least in the Nazi regime, you knew what they were doing. With the Patriot Act, they don't have to tell you what they're doing. They don't have to show you. The world doesn't have to see or hear a goddamn thing. They can come in, kill your brother, train an agent for a year or a month to do this, because this is what the CIA does to drug dealers. They will kill that drug dealer and have another agent there to replace him. You've seen this many times in movies, many times in James Bond movies. I mean, they show it to you in movies all the time. Let me tell you something. Every movie has a little bit of truth in it. It's based on somebody's true story. I don't give a fuck how big of a lie or how fictional you think it is. When you take things like Star Trek, when they had things like microwaves and had things like, cell phones that you can talk in outer space with? Well, gee, we got those now. So, even in movies, if it doesn't exist, it puts that idea in your head. It puts that idea out there. This is what we can do, or this is what we're doing, or this is what we have done. Creation in the universe. So with the Patriot Act, they created the most diabolical, sadistic way to go in and just take everything. Not that the IRS wasn't bad enough for enforcing the no work or no tax on work law, which still doesn't exist today. So anyone that had their property, like my father, like my family, confiscated by the IRS, they legally should get it back. Because the IRS is illegal. It's owned by the Rothschilds. It was created to enforce a law that never existed. They're straight up gangster mafia tactics. So then when you get into the Patriot Act, it is the exact same thing. They implemented these laws under an act that they did, which was 9/11, which the Bushes have admitted that it was the Pope, but it was all of them. Now what about the victims of the Patriot Act? What about the people that, they're shredding the files and, all the Black Ops stuff that took place, all the gang stalker stuff that took place, all the replacing and killing family members and taking people God knows where. What about that? When does that come out? When are we going to start hearing about this? Because when this comes out, the world will truly see how America was taken over and seized by Luciferian, pedophile, Freemason, Nazis. It's plain and simple. And the funny thing is, people think Nazis got one color. No, Nazis don't got one color. If they do, it's green, money. Because that's how they get Obama, all these Mexicans, all these fake ass Jews, anybody to work with them. Anasazi Nazis. But the people don't want to see the horrific truth. And now the Christians, love of my life, she's Christian, I haven't talked to her because, I know her family, her friends, everybody in their congregation around the world is outraged and sick. Well, this is the truth about it. The Pope is a Jesuit. The Jesuits were accused of being Nazis a long time ago. Now you have the head of the church, the Pope, raping and killing little boys. And you've had, remember the priest that admittedly raped over 100 kids? And the Pope pardoned him? And then there was that English documentary about all these men that had grown up, that came together, and that confronted all their priests, or this one particular priest. And nothing happened to him. Man. All these priests, you hear his story over and over and over again, and then they're pardoned by the Pope. What does this say about the whole organization? You're going to these faggot pedophile men, asking them for your forgiveness, asking them about Christ. They're nothing of the such having anything to do with Christ. Like in the Bible, it says the beast was allowed to enter God's temple for 1,000 years. Well, when people actually see, and which they're starting to see, the face of the beast, and it actually is in God's temple, and what it has actually done in the name of God, and got you to believe it, now the truth is going to come out, and the world is going to be horrified. The world is going to be speechless. The world is going to wake up to the truth that the media, that the religious orders, that the Freemason orders, that all the Luciferian orders have been hiding behind their laws. The laws was created to protect these evil motherfuckers. They created the laws. Let me tell you something. A law is something that cannot be broken. So what does that tell you about their laws? They're false. They really need to study the laws of the universe, the universal laws that cannot be broken. And then you will understand the definition of what a law is. So, read the Patriot Act. I'm going to post it, the WikiPad version of it, because it's compiled and compressed under this note, because it's no more due to the one people's public trust. This Patriot Act has been foreclosed on. All their laws, all of their bullshit has been foreclosed on. So a lot of truth is going to be coming out about the world, about many victims of the United States Federal Reserve Corporation, which I am one, which my family has been victimized, which I've been talking about. God bless Anna Chapman. Yesterday was her birthday. There's a lot of things that are going to be coming out, and due to my communications with this woman, we have been able to successfully destabilize a lot of things, because I'm highly intelligent and I'm sick of being experimented on in my own home. I'm sick of being watched. I'm sick of being hacked. And as for the Facebook owned by the CIA, let me explain to you something about Facebook, people. Most people don't understand what Facebook is and what it was originally designed for. Facebook first went online for one sole reason, and it did not start with that little redhead, freckled ginger Mark Zuckerberg. It was just passed on and given to him to take public by the Skull and Bones CIA. Facebook was online 2.5 to 3 years before anyone knew what it was. It was just basically a site that was invented and designed and encoded by Central Intelligence agents and other agents all over the world so they could secretly trade information. Then, under disclosure and okay of other agents, the Windsors and all the big corporation guys, heads of the corporation guys, got access to Facebook and started trading information secretly. They were doing this for 2 years before it was handed over to Zuckerberg. And that's why when you first get on Facebook, it was just all the big corporate bigwigs that were on it. So then Facebook went from a government secret agent sharing tank to a corporate sharing tank to a public sharing tank. So I love sharing my information on Facebook because it started out as something secret, and Anna Chapman, they supposedly busted her for sharing secret information over Facebook in 2010. Now, the thing is, if her lawyers were smart, if they really knew what I knew, and I did pass on some information to her to try to help her get off of what they tried to do to her, and this information was very useful to her and still useful to anybody where these motherfuckers try to take you to court, make the judge run out of the courtroom. I'm very educated. So then when you get into what they busted Anna Chapman for, how can you bust somebody for using something that it was designed for? Sharing information. They use Facebook to share information. I mean, there have been tons of videos, research it on YouTube, that have talked about how the CIA has, dismantled 30% of their surveillance programs because Facebook works so good. Who do you like? Who you talking to? Who are you dating? Who's your friends? What's your internet circle? What do you believe? What kind of pages do you set up? How do you write? What are you feeling today? What do you like? This is Facebook. And people give that information freely without a thought. If a person were to walk up to you, a complete stranger walk up to you, who are you dating? What do you like? What kind of pictures? What books did you read? What do you watch on TV? What would you think of this stranger? you'd think he was crazy. But then when they invent a website where you just, oh, okay, boom, here you go, you don't think twice about it. Trick of technology. So I am Zakaos. Godspeed Russians. Godspeed French Foreign Legion. Thank you for training me and taking care of me in Paris. All the stuff that, Interpol and all of those other people told me about what was going on in Houston, Texas. God bless you, and thank you for not doing a thing and watching these motherfuckers like we do. Let me leave you with this. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. An even wiser man learns from watching other people make their mistakes and not doing a thing and just watching until that right moment comes when you have enough footage, enough codes, enough of everything you need to legally put a bullet in a motherfucker. And then when somebody comes and says something about it, just throw the fucking file in their face. And that's it. I'm Zakaos. Have a nice day. Peace.